So look, it's my pleasure to invite the first of our speakers today, Jo Saunders. Jo is the Director of Wildfire Social Marketing. That's a Western Australian-based marketing consultancy specialising in social media and online marketing. And Jo has over 20 years' experience in event management and marketing. She has a passion for helping people connect and communicate, and has been doing so since starting her first business, Correspondomania Pen Pal Club, at age 19. So it started in very early stages. Jo then established J House Designs in 2004, followed by J House Events in 2009, and that was to support busy business owners and organisations with their events and marketing. In 2011, this was rebranded and Wildfire Social Marketing was born. So can you please join me in welcoming our first speaker, Jo Saunders. Thanks, Jo.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. As we mentioned, I'm Jo Saunders from Wildfire Social Marketing. So I'm going to be talking today about how I got into business and what I actually do, and some of the things that you can do when you're starting a business. Through the presentation, while I'm going to be talking about what I do, I'm going to be talking about some things that you can actually take away and put into action straight away. So using social media to build your your exposure, your credibility through becoming known, becoming likable, and your trust. So my background, as we mentioned, my first business, although at the time I didn't see it as a business, it was a hobby business. I've always been a connector. I love connecting with people, and I used to do that through the good old letter. So I had over 100 pen friends around the world, which is, a bit, I like to, take things on board. And that sort of hobby started, first year of high school French class, we were assigned a pen friend I was brought up in England, a pen friend in France, and from there I joined this club, got pen friends, and moved to Australia, joined a club here, and thought, how can we do this better? So I started my own club, as you do. Always wanted to be an editor of sorts, and thought, well, I'll start my own newsletter. So I ran that for 7 years. Now, looking back, I didn't see it as a business because I had no plan. It wasn't a money-making opportunity. It was more about how can I help people, and that's always throughout everything I do. That's what drives me, and to the point that I've got mentors and coaches now that sort of stop and say, "Why are you doing this? Is this going to feed your family? Are you going to earn an income from this? Or are you doing it because you're being too nice, you're being too..." So you've always got to stop and think, why you're doing it. And for me, my purpose is to help people. That's my primary purpose. But at the end of the day, you can't just be helping people, because that's not going to, be good for your own family and for the, for the economy generally. So you've got to have that balance. So, like I said, I didn't see it as a business, but looking back, it was the purpose behind it. It was that the reason I love doing it is helping people around the world connect with other people with similar passions, and it was, for fun. So in my day job, so to speak, events is my background. So I've run events around Australia, conferences in the professional development sector. And starting a business, I was doing events. I started off through committees. So, you join the playgroup, you join the daycare committee, the school P&F, those sorts of things. And I was always doing marketing and events because I love that sort of thing. And I brought it all together, and I actually won a client from my boss. This is how I took that leap. I really wish I'd done it sooner, because I didn't have the courage to step out from being an employee to a full-time business owner. And one of my boss's clients said, "Why don't you apply for put in for this tender, because we really love working with you." And it wasn't a negative against my boss, but they just could see some future. And I'm a very innovative person. I'm always coming up with ideas. Whereas my boss was very much, this is, stay on task, do this. So I actually won the contract from him. We're good friends, so it's all good. So when I explain it, it always comes across as a bit, it sounds a bit dodgy, but we're really good friends, and he's actually one of my mentors. So I've worked with him in that transition, because he saw my vision and he sort of helped me along, so that was fantastic. So with my own events business, I've worked with the Project Management Institute, one of my current clients. I still work with them. I still manage their events, but I've now got people that do that. So I've got an assistant that sort of takes care of all that for me, so that when I travel, if I'm speaking at an event, she can do all that. So it's that transition of growth, which we all need to do at some point. I've worked with the Perth Press Club, so my biggest event that I had was on the Thursday. I got asked, can I just pull an event together the following Tuesday? We need a venue, we've got the Prime Minister speaking, can you just market it, get people bums on seats, we need to organise the media? I went, sure. And so that was Thursday. I did not sleep pretty much the whole weekend. I was on the phone, I was emailing, and of course we filled the room because, you know, who doesn't want to hear from the Prime Minister, which was Kevin Rudd at the time. Got the hire, they happened to be available, and it all came together. So it was a massive adrenaline rush. I do work well on adrenaline, but you get to that point where you then go, oh, that's done now, what's next? So one of the things when starting a business is you really need to be conscious of not putting in too much. And I was just talking to Lisa before about one of my challenges. And everything I do, anything that sort of seems to be a negative, I always look at, well, what's the learning from this? I think that's really important. So one of my clients, it was all about expectations and managing them. So I do work some strange hours. I've got 3 children, and I do like to be available, you know, sometime during the day. I do things like parent help and, you know, try and do the school run. They've all got activities after school, so I try and have that flexibility. I've got some fantastic in-laws, so support is really important. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now. But it's about having that balance and also having some boundaries with your clients. So I'm a very much, like I said, I work very strange hours. Not so much now, I'm actually looking after myself first. And I was becoming too available. So when he sent me an email at, I think it was like 7 o'clock at night, and I didn't action it overnight. So by 7 a.m. the next morning, this particular email hadn't been actioned. And he said, what's going on? I happen to have a social life that night and go out. But I realised it was me, I didn't set the boundaries. So I've now got things in place that, you know, we've got turnaround times around certain things. And if I do things out of hours, that's my prerogative, but I schedule it so it goes the next day. So if you're starting out, yeah, you're going to be passionate and you are going to put in a lot of hours and if you're not in business yet, be prepared because it does take a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, but you also want to take care of yourself first because otherwise you'll burn out, and that sort of happened to me last year. So I've stepped back a little bit and getting help, building a team, working with virtual assistants or getting a PA or mentors and people around you, so that's really, really important. So that's my backstory. But what's allowed me to build my business is social media. So this is my diagram I've come up with, how it all fits together. So you've got your website that we've built all the bits of your website. You've got all your different social media tools, your email, and LinkedIn is the biggest one because LinkedIn's the platform I specialise in and I've become known for. But it's one of those things I believe every business owner should be using LinkedIn to some extent, so you should have a profile. And I run workshops and trainings and mentor clients on how to use it properly. So if you've got any questions about LinkedIn specifically, always ask me. So LinkedIn is the biggest social network in terms of the professional social networks. So we've got 7 million in Australia and growing. It's growing at 2 people per second still, and that's been ongoing, so it's not going anywhere. But it's all about having a strategy. So and this applies to any social media. If you're just hit and miss, trying to do it all, and you may, when you start your own business, often you go to workshops and learn different things. You'll hear a speaker talking about, you need to do Facebook, or you need to Instagram or Pinterest, or you'll get overwhelmed because you can't do it all. Unless you've got a team of people, and if you're not there yet, then that's not going to happen. So it's working out which of those platforms you're actually comfortable using and which ones your clients or potential clients are going to be on. So if you're in the retail sector and fashion, for example, well, Facebook and Instagram are going to be great, potentially Pinterest as well. LinkedIn, maybe not so much, but you might use that as to establish your credibility. But you may not be on it every day, pimping your wares, so to speak, and sharing your beautiful dresses. Whereas Instagram and Facebook are great platforms for that. But it's about having a strategy. So building a profile. So this, related to LinkedIn, obviously this is talking about a LinkedIn profile, but this is a profile on any platform that you use. Working out what it is you want to achieve. So why are you there? Because if someone comes to me and says, I need to be using LinkedIn, I'll actually stop and say, why? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want to reach? What do you want to get from it? It's about then having these 3 core strategies. So your connection strategy, how are you going to connect, who are you going to connect to, what the process is. Your communication, then how you're keeping in touch with people. Because a lot of people will connect and that's it. So it's building relationships. And then content, how you position yourself through content. And content can be articles, it could be videos, it could be audio, it could be podcasts, those sorts of things. So we'll start with being known, so building your profile. So it starts with who you are, who you help, how you help them, and establishing your credibility. Now, a lot of people, especially when you're starting up, you'll start doing some research, looking around, seeing what everybody else is doing. And I did the same thing, And for a long time, I kept asking, why me? How am I different? What do I do different to everybody else? And how do I position myself so I look like one of these professionals over here? But what I've learned in the last 3 or 4 years especially is you just need to be yourself. You need to work out who you are, and own your voice. And this is the real passion behind what I do and purpose behind what I do. I want to inspire people to actually have the courage to be themselves, to actually find a voice and own it. So I'll do things like initially I would write content. I'd get my husband to proof it because he's a very detailed person. And he'd come back and say, oh, you can't say that, it sounds really unprofessional. And I got to the point of thinking, well, that's my brand, that's how I speak. My content needs to be the way I speak. The way I present is the way I speak. So the way I'm speaking to you now is the way I speak to you one-to-one. And that's what I've learned. So back when I was organising events, this is 4 or 5 years ago, if you said to me I would be standing here speaking to a room full of people, I would have said, no, I don't think so. I don't do public speaking. No, I don't, that scares the pants off me. And it was actually my husband saying, when I got asked to speak at a conference, I said, oh, no, but you can speak to someone else. She's fantastic, and I believe she's one of your other speakers, Tennille Bentley. I said, oh, Tennille does this. She's fantastic. You need to have her. But my husband said, well, why can't you do it? And I thought, I don't really have because I don't do it, and it's too scary. And he said, well, that's not good enough reason. So it was him pushing me, and a few other key people along the way. I've been to lots of workshops. I love learning, and that's another thing you need to do in business. Always be open to growth, always be open to learning. But being in workshops and asking questions and having discussions, a few presenters have heard me talking and said, why are you here? You could be running this. And it was those little seeds. And one of them is the CEO of the WA Business News. He was running some workshops with the Small Business Development Corporation years ago, and he overheard me and said, you could run this. Why are you here? And I said, oh, no, I have no vision to do that. No. And I actually thanked him last year and said, thanks for that little seed, because... And that's why my first slide, I've got the trees, I've got the little seed growing through growing to a big tree, because along the way, you'll have people that will plant little seeds that will not make any sense at the time, but along the way you'll think, hang on, why can't I do that? Why am I putting myself in this box, in this, with these boundaries? So it's always been open to growth. So the point of this slide is to don't try and fit in with these birds over here. Try and be, not try to be that person, but just be yourself, and organically you will stand out. So working out what your voice is. Also owning your brand as well. So for me, I'm quite a visual person, and I like things to look pretty. That's my design background in me. So I generally always wear orange, red, grey. My car is even the same grey as my brand. It just a fluke. I just realised that, after I bought it, I thought, hang on. So I'm very much on brand, and sometimes I'll break my brand by doing something different. So recently I went to an event in a bright electric blue dress, just for fun. And when I did my introduction, I said, oh, hi, I'm Jo, blah, blah, blah. And I'm breaking my brand today by wearing blue. When the photos were released, they have an event photographer, they were in black and white. So I can't, it just goes to show that you can't break your brand, because things will just happen. So that all started actually from, not in business, but I'd be dropping my kids off to school, and some of the parents would say, oh, you're not wearing red today, or you're not wearing orange today, what's going on? So people notice things. It's the little, those little touches that you make that are really important. So stand out organically. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bit of a broken slide there. It's supposed to be someone with a paper bag on their head, but it's obviously... See, that's how not to stand out. Now, I've said one does not network with a bag on your head, sort of, because this is related to LinkedIn. So if you're one of these people that hates having a photo taken, is anybody here hates someone? Yeah, I am one of those people, but you just have to get over it, because you look the way you look. That's it. So if you're on LinkedIn with no photo because of whatever issue you're holding back there, or you haven't got a good photo, or you think, whatever you think, you really need to get over that, because it's like turning up to an event like this with a bag on your head. People connect to people. People need to see your face, connect with your smile, connect with your eyes. So make sure you've got a photo on your profile. And be consistent, so it's everywhere. So it's really interesting that slide's chosen to go all fuzzy, because otherwise that's what you look like online. So that was planned, actually. That was planned. If you've got a photo, LinkedIn released lots of interesting stats. So last year they updated their numbers, and having a photo, your profile is 14 times more likely to be viewed than someone that doesn't. So if someone wants to connect to me and they don't have a photo, I think, First I think they need help because of what I do, but I question, what they're doing. And also, how can you use it to position yourself? So you've got a headline under your name, just over here. Don't just put business owner or entrepreneur or consultant. Actually add some context to it. So think about what it is you do for whom, and you can then stand out by positioning yourself. It's almost like an online elevator pitch, really. So if you were to stand up and go around the room and say who you are, how would you do it online? So think about that. Create likability through building a network, being social. So LinkedIn is a professional platform, and a lot of people see it as quite boring. Who thinks LinkedIn is quite a boring platform compared to Facebook? Yeah, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. It can be. It's still a social platform, so you still need to be conversational. You still need to be, connecting and communicating with people and building relationships. And it works through. You're in the middle. You have your first degree connections, which are your people you said yes to, or they've said yes to you, and then you've got your connections of connections and beyond. It goes 3 levels deep, but if you start building a network, and people that you meet and talk to today, if you swap business cards, the next step should be to connect on LinkedIn with a conversation as you would in person, and start building a network so that people can get an understanding of what you do and how you help them and how they can help you. And if you connect on LinkedIn, as many people do, without a personal message, this is one of my pet peeves, so I brought this up. It's like me walking over to you and handing a business card and walking away. And if I've got a paper bag on my head as well, with no profile photo, really, you haven't made a good impression. So when you connect to people, always take the time to, that's the social aspect, to say, hi, great to meet you at the forum today, love chatting to you about insert whatever it was, the topic you talked about, and love to connect, or let's do coffee, or something to to connect with them. So be sociable, and then build trust with them, which is part 3 of the process. And you do that through engaging with them in conversation. If they're posting things, respond back, write recommendations for people that you've worked with, and just be sociable and start, and also the content side of things. Start publishing content. So find your voice. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges for people, working out who they are, working out how to sound, how should they be on LinkedIn. And one of my colleagues is a social media specialist, and she's quite quirky, but she said to me, I don't know who to be on LinkedIn. And I said, just be you. It's quite simple. So don't be afraid of thinking, well, I need to put on a suit for LinkedIn, or I need to be this on LinkedIn. Just use your voice and find out work out what your brand is, and be consistent, because that builds trust. And do some things like this, share updates, comments. You've got direct messages, group messages. There's lots you can do with LinkedIn. It's quite a diverse platform. And it's one of those things that once you've built your profile, it's not done. You're never going to finish it, because you're not finished. It grows with you. So as you do things, as you learn new things, look at how you can tweak it, as you get clearer with your purpose. So as I've said, 4 or 5 years ago, there was no way I would be, I wasn't doing social media then, I was doing more events. It was event management and marketing. I've sort of niched into it. So if I'd kept my profile the way it was then, it wouldn't be very compelling. So work out what it is you do, what do you love doing, what are you going to let go of as well? And what are you going to start saying no to? Because you need to start saying no to things, or no to clients that aren't a fit for you as well. One of the things I've got is I've developed a program. I've got a lot of joint ventures, and that's something else I'd love to do in business is, if someone's in my space and they're great, I actually, I don't see people as competition. I like to collaborate with them. I think if you can have a collaborative mindset, you're on a win. So I collaborate with a lot of people around the world. So I've got projects with, there's LinkedIn trainers in all different countries, and all the good ones, we all collaborate together. Last week I was interviewed by, he calls himself Mr. LinkedIn. He's in the UK. He's a LinkedIn trainer, and I respect him. So he interviewed me on his podcast. I happened to have picked up the Twitter ID Mrs. LinkedIn, just for fun, and he said to me, when did we get married? Yeah, so I like to have a bit of fun in business as well, but so he interviewed me about something he knows well, but it's all about collaboration and how we can work together. So I shared that on LinkedIn this morning because it's just been released. Locally, I've got various events I do with different people, but one is a guy called Ming Chong. He's a branding specialist, and we've got this program called the 3R Marketing Program. And that's it. So if you've got any questions, here's all my details. You can find me across pretty much every social media. The only one I'm not doing very effectively is Google+. I'm using it because it's Google, but it's not the platform I'm very excited about. It's not very... not that LinkedIn's very sexy, but it's a lot more user-friendly than Google+. Does anybody love Google+ here, just out of interest? No. Oh yeah, yay! That's great. I mean, it's a good platform to use. So it's working out how it fits in though with your net. And so I'm just, I guess I'm demonstrating the point before. You can't do it all. You can't be everywhere and doing everything effectively. You've got to pick a few and do them well. LinkedIn for me is obviously something I want to do well. Facebook you'll find me on. Twitter you'll find me on. The others are Instagram I'm on, but a bit of fun. Pinterest, also a bit of fun. Lots of things, lots of shoes on and beautiful dresses on Pinterest. Just be aware. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions, we've got a Q&A panel, so park your questions. But thank you very much.
Thanks very much to Jo. That was a really great presentation and some, I think, really useful tips, particularly on how to use social media, which obviously can be quite overwhelming. So I think it just gives you a sense of perhaps where you put your effort and how to sort of prioritise and use it to the best of your advantage. So thank you. Thank you for sharing some of those personal experiences as well. I always think it's interesting to hear the personal story around how you've got to where you are.